Next, I would like to request Mr. Sandeep Oja sir, convener of Science Club, so his talk on why learn science. Over to you, sir. Sandeep sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Truly delighted to be a part of this panel. And I believe it's indeed an honor to me since I am an alumnus. Okay, Rntu is my alma mater. And I'm very happy to be here again with all you guys. Especially I'll thank Prabal sir for inviting me to making me a part of this discussion. And for now, before we start, I'll thank everyone, V.K. Verma sir, who has been my vice chancellor once, and Dr. Johri, Dr. Paliwal, who introduced me to the engineering level physics. Thank you so much, ma'am. The accelerator you put me in is still accelerating me towards physics till now. So I'm very happy. And today we are about to discuss why learn science. And I'll just have a basic background about it. This one I will say is not just for all the panelists, since the panelists are themselves part of science fraternity, but for all the 37 another participants, the other participants, it's for them. And for everyone who thinks science is a very bothered subject. And okay, and also I'll request the participants, the panelists who haven't muted. Okay, let's start. Why learn science? For that, I'll share the screen.
अच्छा सुनो, हाँ मेरे को वेबसाइट से मिला था, मुझे याद आया। नहीं RGPV के वेबसाइट।
This one's my screen, as you can see, and this one's the presentation for why learn science.
Arya sir, please mute yourself.
So everyone out here, just ask yourself, you always idolize movie stars and sports stars. Why do we often, even recognize scientists? If you ask me, I do recognize few of them, not everyone, since I haven't been acquainted with throughout my academic life. But do you know who he is? All the science community members will know, definitely, of course. Not the most of the people. And this weirdly looking guy, can you see his eyes now? The way his hair is, the way his beard is. This is P.C. Roy, and the first one was Meghnad Saha. So there are a number of people, as Verma sir mentioned. Even I feel S.N. Bose is one of the greatest scientists of all time. I can even compare him to Newton and Galileo, because the ideas he gave actually revolutionized the world. And the hero of the day, C.V. Raman sir. So there's not much time that we can talk about everyone. Mr. Sarabhai and Salim Ali, the upper right corner that you can see, that bald man is Salim Ali. You have seen one of his characters, one of our characters inspired by him in the movie Robot 2.2, played by Akshay Kumar. So out of all these people, today is the day that we celebrate Dr. C.V. Raman's achievement. And it's not because his birthday is today, it's not because it's the day that he died. It's because he achieved something that we all Indians can be very proud of. And eventually, it was from them that we Indians could recognize the contributions of the Indian scientists to the global achievements in science, especially in physics. So physics, you see, is a somewhat glamorous part of science. So this is the day when we celebrate the National Science Day. Just to mention, I am representing here, of course, Rabindranath Tagore University and the science club that the university has. We initiated it a couple of years ago, and it is affiliated from Vigyan Prasar Vibnet Club of Science Club. This is 157th Science Club in Madhya Pradesh and just 7th in Bhopal. So let's begin. Why learn science? So why do we need to talk about science simply? Why do we see science? Do we experience science often and every day? So how can this be verified? See, Wikipedia is something that we all agree on being the world's largest online reference work, don't we? We all agree that Wikipedia is the place where we go to ask for answers, detailed answers, not to mention, whenever we want to know about subject or anything that we can Google. Since Google is just a search engine that brings up all the sites that that can give the information, Wikipedia itself is the place where we can find the detailed information about anyone, anything, and whatever we seek to. So we can agree Wikipedia is the best one. So if you search these things on Wikipedia, to name it, photosynthesis, color of sky, Earth is round or flat, flying planes, dialysis, 4G mobiles, internet, robot, hybrid apples, plastics, whatever, even Zoom, calling. What do you think all these things are interconnected with? Of course, all these things are the evidence that there is some science behind it. All of these things have either their origin in science or they have been modified by science in some way or the another. So everything around us is founded in science or modified by it. Don't you think this is something very fascinating? I believe this particular quality of science makes it awesome for us. Don't you feel so? And I would request everyone to just make your screen full. Okay, see it in the full screen. You will enjoy it. It's like I have made it in a way that you can experience it, not just get information from it. Okay, just don't consider it as a PPT. It's just a type of movie or story for you. And I believe this quality of science makes it worth enjoying. And by enjoying, I mean enjoying is something that that gives you pleasure. So science can give you pleasure. So, okay, who are these guys? Can anyone recognize them? Okay, that's Christian Bale from the movie The Prestige. And these are some magicians as well. So I guess, okay, let me test something out of you. Have you ever heard of a word, charlatan? How many of you heard about it? Anyone? Okay, the panelists too can join in. And if you have heard of this word, you can just tell me yes or no. Anyone? In the panel as well? Okay, I guess maybe a charlatan is a person who claims to have a special knowledge or skill. Okay, you can also call them in simple language, in simple words, a fraud. Like dhongi is a right word in Hindi. So why I said science is important is because there are a number of charlatans, number of frauds in the world who can take benefit, who can take advantage from you because of your ignorance that how a certain kind of thing works. Like you don't know how it works and someone takes advantage of that and makes you a fool out of yourself. Okay, based on that ignorance. So this world is full of scientific charlatans. Number of people do not explain to you how things work and they know that you don't even know this and they take advantage of that thing. Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of my favorite science communicators and astrophysicist. He himself has been a great student of late Carl Sagan, who was, I think, the pioneer in science communication throughout the world. Neil deGrasse Tyson says, for me, science is a vaccine against charlatans. Okay, it enables me to know whether someone is making fool of me or someone is okay. I mean, someone is good with it. This is why science is important. Okay, now I'll tell you something more about it. Science, if you know what it does, if you know what science is and where it is in the world before you can gain knowledge from it. So science is knowledge. We do agree with this fact that science is knowledge. And if we know this, that science is knowledge, and it's a fact that everyone will agree here on panel, everyone who is on panel with me will agree on the fact, knowledge is power. So in that case, if you're good enough in mathematics to understand this, science is power. And when you get this power of science, the world wins. You can win the world. So what does it take to become that much powerful, to rule the world, to enjoy this world to the fullest? someone who wishes to do so has to be knowledgeable first and powerful first. Okay. So do you know someone who is both, who is knowledgeable and powerful? Powerful in terms of, money and all, whatever you call it. You will know a powerful person he is. So do you know someone who's having knowledge and power at the same time? You can become one. But I know someone who's already there. In the real world, I could not find someone, but there is someone in the fictional one, and here he is. Anthony Stark. I have been very fond of him. I've been a big fan of Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark, the Iron Man. And if you understand his character closely, he is someone with a lot of power. Obviously, he's a billionaire, and he is cursed with knowledge as well. So what does it take to become Iron Man? Paying attention to details. What the science teaches us is to identify patterns. For a long period of evolution that we have been supreme in identifying patterns in our environment. The prime example being the stars. Whenever our ancestors observed the stars, they could find some pattern on them. And this is how we come to know about the constellations, the Orion or the other. Every civilization did that. Okay, this is the reason why we can find Ganesha on potato, the face of Ganesha on potato. So we can recognize patterns by paying attention, observing the universe. Whatever we see, we observe it, we learn from it. And if necessary, we bend it. We knew that two glasses put together, they can bend light, and you can use light to see further spaces. We bend it to our will, and we made telescopes. The most important thing, the most important step in becoming Iron Man, this is the reason why I love Iron Man 4, is to communicate it. Whatever knowledge you have, you need to communicate it to the next generation, or at least the people with you right there out there. You do not just have to keep it to yourself. You might have heard of the Great Library of Alexandria. The time the Alexander the Great died, there was a city, Alexandria, and there was once the biggest of all libraries in the world. There was a library in Alexandria. It housed everything you study now, Euclid's mathematics theories, Pythagoras' books, everything it had. But the only problem was the kingship that was at that time, they just felt that this knowledge just belonged to the royal people, not for the common people. And when the uprising was there from the common people, no one came to save the library. It was burned down, and a number of knowledgeable books and other things, we lost them. So knowledge cannot be kept to some specific people, some confined. It cannot be confined to just to scientist communities. It should be communicated to everyone. This is what we feel. This is what I feel. And as a science communicator, I feel. Just imagine if Newton, when he discovered the laws of gravity, if he didn't wish to share it with anyone, who knows if this apple could become this? No one knows. That is only the reason why we just know this world full of scientific advancements and technology prevailing. Because someone shared the idea, their findings and everything in lieu of nothing. So science was the first subject that we know. Subject means something that we could study, that we could observe, and by that we could upgrade ourselves as intellectual self. So if you just consider the whole evolution of humans, generation by generation, we just got upgraded as an intellectual self. And there is a good thing that you can now be proud of, the current generation. We can now be proud of that this one is the most intellect and well-informed generation ever in the history of humankind. Doesn't it feel good? You're the smartest by far. But how? I mean, you just know science as a subject, but it's not actually a subject, as Rakesh Arya sir mentioned earlier. Science is just a combination of events, a chain reaction and series of events just happening around you. You ask a few questions and you just find the answer, and you understand how it works, how these events occur. So broadly speaking, I won't spend much of time on this because Arya said that, Rakesh said, did it earlier. Science is broadly classified into three main components. When we talk about the matter in the environment, we talk about physics. Okay, the forces and effects that applies on those matters is physics, and the reaction of these matters to combine and form another form of matter is chemistry. And altogether, biology, which deals with all the livings and their relations, and compositely, collectively, their relation with the non-living environment. This is broadly science. Also, science can be of two types. Cultivating science can be of two types. As Rakesh Arya has mentioned, basic science, this involves a cycle of 4 steps. First is asking questions, a lot of questions. Questions like in the form of what, how, and why. What happened? What just happened? And how it happened? And why did it happen? And when you cultivate that, when you investigate that thing, you will have some assumption in your mind, some hypothesis in your mind, and then you verify it through experimentation and all. And then you conclude. And if the conclusion is on the right path, whatever gives you the good result, whatever passed your test, you have to build on it. And if it doesn't pass, reject it and ask the questions again. So the cycle goes on. Next one is applied science. Once basic science tells you that you know something about something, now it's time to use it. If you have knowledge about something, you can now use it. So applied science goes on like applying your ideas and derive formulae. Formulae doesn't mean your numerical problems only. Derive the theories. Okay, derive the laws. And then you make predictions. One good thing about science I like is a true scientist is not someone who can just explain the phenomena, how something happens and why did it happen and what just happened. A true scientist is someone who can predict based on his observations and his theories. A prime example of it being Charles Darwin. He just saw a plant in Madagascar with a long neck. Okay, the tube that goes on, it's a very long one. So in order to pollination to happen, if pollination is to happen, there must be some bug, there must be some insect with that long tongue that can facilitate the pollination process. And he didn't know about it. He just predicted there has to be some bird or some bug in Madagascar that can just reach out to the bottom of that flower in order to pollination to happen. And after 30 years of this prediction, there was a bug found in Madagascar with that much longer tongue. This is what it happens. You might be heard of many of scientists predicting that there has to be a black hole in the universe, and no one even has seen it now. So the prediction was made quite earlier, and after 40 years of that, we could find the first black hole in space. So the best thing about science that we like is it gives predictions. And only if the predictions are true, you can say the findings is true. Verify those predictions. So this is what science is. But the thing is, boss, whenever we apply these sciences, and we just begin to think as a scientist that whatever I has found is the absolute consequence, the absolute result, we are wrong at that moment. Science is not a destination that we need to arrive at. Science is a journey. It's an iterative process. Okay, it finds and fights itself. It has a number of steps involved, and it's a cycle as well. It has a number of steps. It's not like you just find some observation and just predict, okay, this is the final thing that can happen to something. No, something more is there to be found. And I'll give a quick example of what we can do if we think that our finding is the absolute. It can never be, revisited. You see this? This is a map. Here is a globe. It's called Adaptal. This globe was, made by Portuguese Martin Bayham. He was that time one of the best globe makers in the world, the best, cartologist in the world. He made this globe in 1492. Can you relate this time? This was almost the time when Christopher Columbus discovered America. So if you look at this map, you can find every continents except Americas. There were only 3 continents at that time in the world. It was believed that only 3 continents were there: Europe, Asia, and of course Africa. No Americas was there. So just imagine of a world before 1492 or 1498 to be precise, that the world didn't knew of the Americas. They never existed before 1492. Only it was when Christopher Columbus visited the American coast and he discovered that place and gave it a name of India. He was in search of India, by the way. So it's another story. When Christopher Columbus discovered it, it was like, okay, we do have a whole continent, whole heck of 2 continents, couple of continents altogether. And today we know that America exists. So just think about the scientist. Just think about Martin Bayham, that he knew that, okay, this is the final picture of the world. He just believed this is the whole world that we know. And there's nothing more to discover with that to know. But he was proved wrong. So science is an iterative process. And today as well, when we have the most advanced technology, even today we don't know everything about the world, not to mention our Earth. We might have our flags on moon, but we still need to know. Yeah, we are yet to know more about the oceans. So science never ends. But still, we have managed to get us edge over the other species. How could we do that? We can pass on knowledge. We have passed on knowledge through our evolution, and generation by generation. We did it by generation and generation, and maintaining the viability of life. By doing this thing, passing on knowledge to the next generation, we have kept the viability of life intact. And that is something that has provided us the advantage before the other species. These 2 guys are one of my ideals. That girl on the left side with that curly hair is Sir Isaac Newton. Okay. He's not a girl, by the way. Sir Isaac Newton and Sir Stephen Hawking. These are one of the best scientists that we know. What did they say? They could have said that Newton could have said, I was the first scientist celebrated throughout the world. Hawking could have said, God gave me nothing but the most brilliant mind in the world. They didn't give credit to themselves at all. In fact, what Newton says, this is what he says: if I have seen further than others, it is only by standing on the shoulders of giants. And by giants, he means the previous scientists, those who worked before him. Okay, who pioneered the ideas, scientific ideas before him, and those he idealized. In the same way, Hawking says, if you understand how the universe operates, you can control it in a way. And that's a good thing. Even I tell you, when Albert Einstein was working in his lab for the theory of relativity and other stuff, he used to have a portrait, a couple of portraits of Nikola Tesla, Benjamin Franklin, Michael Faraday, and Niels Bohr. So these guys say, science is not just to enjoy and make observations, make predictions, and confine it to yourself. It's for sharing. Okay, share the knowledge and enable ourselves the capability of creating a better world with better technologies. And when we do this, can we know what is it? There's an image on the left of your screen. Have you ever seen this image? Is there something special about it? See what happens. We as a species, humans, I'm talking about humans, we have been so arrogant and proud of our achievements that we have been the best in the world, best species in the world and everything. But there is something. There is something that we can understand from this picture. Taking pride in all the achievements and advancements that we have now is a good thing, but not to mention that science makes you humble, and you have to be humble. If you learn science, if you understand science, it will help you being humble. The image on the left of your screen is called pale blue dot. See, it's called pale blue dot. What about it? Why am I mentioning it now? Pale blue dot was an image taken by the Voyager 1 spacecraft in the year 1990. Okay. And one of the scientists, as I mentioned, Carl Sagan was one of the scientists who insisted NASA to turn the cameras towards Earth and take an image of Earth from nearly 6 billion kilometers away. And this was the image that the Voyager captured. This whole image is 640,000 pixels of area. And the dot you see is just 0.12 pixels. This is us in space. I'm leaving you for the next 3 minutes with this video. Kindly listen to it. These are the words said by Carl Sagan when he saw this image. Are you getting the voice? So if you're not able to listen to the video, I can read it out. Look at the dot again. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, you know, everyone you heard of, every human being who has ever lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and sufferings, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and every king and peasant, every young and old, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor, explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mode of dust suspended on something. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve the cherished pale blue dot, the only home we have ever known. Do you see that dot? It's still flying. We are on board the Voyager 1 aircraft, and the way it traveled to the universe through our solar system, it captures this image. So this is the size of solar system in an no scale manner. But we still see that dot. That's a pale one. That's our home. If you like it or not, we don't even, for now, dream to go to some other planet and start living instantaneously. Okay, there may be some chance to live on some other planet, but until then, this is the only home we have. This image compels you to be humble. So this was the dot I wanted you to see. So coming to the end of this talk, I just want to tell you, we are doing a bit to the community. I'm just mentioning the Science Club. The United Mind Science Club, found in January 26, 19, is a science club that Rntu has supported a lot. And for all the viewers out there, especially belonging to the Rntu campus, I would request everyone of you who has an inclination towards science, do join the science club and give your ideas and try to build up a community that cultivates science in a good way. I can assure from my side that the university management and administration will definitely help you out in whatever you wish to do. So this is the plan that we want to become a huge. And that's why we welcome you all to the science club and want you to become a member of it. For more details, you will get to know more about the club through this Center of Science and Communication that Prabal sir heads, and through Palival ma'am. We believe in him. That guy with his hands on his cheek, Dr. Kalam sir, he's been our inspiration throughout these years, and we just enjoyed science under his guidance. Thank you, everyone.